Hello and welcome to a rather late scheduled AV experience. I know I put that schedule up probably 5 minutes ago because it's a holiday weekend here in the United States. And Tom from across the pond reminded me that I have a stream, even though it's my stream 25 minutes ago. So I thank Tom for sending me the text and going, "Are we still on?" And me waking up and going, "Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we're still on." Uh, so thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for the late schedule. I do already have the one next week scheduled because I had a topic. So we were going to do this week regardless, but Tom and I couldn't come up with a topic. So I came up with this topic about 10 minutes ago and then made the thumbnail and all of that. But you guys don't know Tom. So I'm going to let Tom introduce himself real quick and ignore Tom's background because Tom is redoing his demo space. So you're seeing the behind the scenes structure. That's the LCR wall for his space. So ignore that. Doesn't typically look like that. He's redoing it, but acoustically, it's probably still a great space for doing AV work. So Tom, I'll let you introduce yourself, just a brief synopsis of who you are, and then we will jump into this topic. I have no idea where we're going to go, but we will see. So floor is yours.
Thank you, Ryan. So I'm Tom Delicampagni, like you say, across a pond over in the UK, and I'm a cinema specialist over here, something that I've really been digging deep into for the last 5 years, and I follow physics effectively.
Yeah. Thankfully, I think it's the correct way to go. So you've only been doing this for 5 years. Have you only been doing this for 5 years?
Much longer.
Oh, you have?
Properly. So yeah, properly. You probably don't know. My business is it used to be just joinery. So I've got a big factory just to the side of this wall here. So I've made everything from hairdressers, pubs, clubs.
I did not know
kitchens, wardrobes. Yeah. So I've been the business is 22, 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when I left uni, straight into it. So yeah, but I've always loved these spaces, right? I've always been into music and hi-fi. Like everybody, it probably started in car audio when I was 17 when I got my first car, and it's always been a big passion.
Mm-hmm.
Always been a big passion. And I started doing a little bit of home cinema. Automation was about 15 years ago. And then I moved into the audio and then into cinemas. And I've made all the mistakes in that first probably 5 years of doing what you read, right?
Well, I think the successful guys that do this make those mistakes and then at least recognize that they made those mistakes and then change them eventually. So I think if you hadn't made those mistakes, you probably wouldn't be as successful as you are.
My first big mistake is when I made my first demo room, which years ago now. And I listened to my supplier on what to do and where to put stuff, right? So
why would you do that when you're just getting into it? You're trusting a point of authority effectively because you think that, oh, they're a supplier, they must know what they're talking about. And that's a lot of times not how it goes.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I had no idea why, but I did what I was told because these guys knew, and at the time they knew a lot more than I did. So I had, my left, center, and right in the wall. I had a pair of subs smack bang in between them.
Mm-hmm. That's very common placement even now.
Yep. I had no bass. My bass response was awful, terrible. I couldn't work it out.
And why do you think it was bad? Looking back, or do you know?
I can tell you exactly. Yeah, modal, all modal issues for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, and this is why people say, and this is in small rooms. This isn't big rooms. So remember that some of these mistakes are not universal across room spaces, but people for a while, and I think still do, have the idea that if I set all of my speakers to large and they're all capable of low frequency response, that it is universally going to be better. And my response to that is no. And the reason for that is, and I think this is what was going on in your space, Where the speakers sit is probably not the best place for a subwoofer. So when
Yep.
people put those subwoofers up with their mains right in the middle, almost always it is a universal modal issue. And if you go back and look at the video that Ben and I did that describes problems with bass in rooms, where we put up the diagram that illustrates modes and where they sit in rooms and what the frequency mode is, would bet that those subs were sitting on one of those modal issues, like you said. And people don't realize that because they don't have the experience, which makes sense when you're just getting into this, especially in bigger rooms. So you can't fault it. But the sad thing is you listen to people of authority that you think know what's going on. And in a lot of cases, still today, a lot of those people in authority have no idea what's going on, or they do, and it's not based on the science of things. They're like, oh, I've had good experiences doing this. And you quickly realize that their good experiences may be what they think is good experiences, but are not what you're willing to share, at least professionally, with your customers. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's I think I remember reading something online about corner loading subs. I was like, oh, that's
Mhm,
what I need to do. So that was like a few months later, did that,
mhm.
and suddenly I got more bass. Not necessarily better, but more.
That is a good way to put it. More, not necessarily
Because
better. Yep,
at
yep.
this time, it was highly unlikely I was doing deep dive measurements.
Mhm.
I might have been doing some measurements. I very likely had a U mic 1, but I was looking at an RTA graph. That's all I would have seen, a frequency response, right?
Mhm.
Anything else within REW would have meant nothing to me. That was for the scientists, not for us home cinema guys.
Well, you kinda thought, at least when you're getting into it, that this is all you needed, that this is where you needed to look. You didn't recognize that you needed to look further into this. And again, frankly, most people don't, even on the professional side of this. So guys, today's discussion does not only go into the enthusiast side. This absolutely applies to the professional side. This applies to everyone. Um, because even the professionals, more than you may think, do not subscribe to the scientific side of things, which CEDIA, the recommended practices, and some of us in the industry are really trying to push and say, you need to do this a different way. You need to subscribe to the objective scientific physics based applications for what we're doing. All right. So let's stick with subs, right? So common issues that you see with subs, or misconceptions or problems that you see with subs. Now, Tom, you've gone into a lot of rooms that other integrators have done, and that you fix the things that those integrators have done. So maybe you've seen more of this than some of us, at least from a professional side. Are there any that stick out to you? We're focusing on subs here, that are issues that you look at and go, now knowing what you know, and go, why would you do that?
Oh, countless. So I don't just refix people's. I also calibrate for people as well, right?
Hmm.
So I see all sorts of stuff. Um, yeah. So there's one I've done recently, which was if you were going to get a pick of equipment that you think you could live with, you and I would live with at
Hmm.
home, Ryan, this
Yeah.
was it. This was Perlis S series, S7 blacks, for LCR,
Dang.
D215s. So in a small room, in a smaller room than this.
Is this the one that you've sent me some pictures on that you've been complaining about lately, or is this a different one?
Might have been. It could have. It
Okay.
could be. I'm dealing with a few of them at the moment. And I walked into this room. I was asked to pop in and give this customer, who's
Hop
now a
in.
great friend. Yeah,
Mm.
just a 4 hour round trip. But so I popped over and had a listen to it, and I'll never forget. I listened to the final scene of Lucy.
Hmm.
That was the only film that I filmed, sort of clip that I watched, and then listened to a couple of music tracks. And I just said, what equipment have you got in here? And he's like, "Oh, well, I've got, I could see they had two D215s in the corners behind him, and then 4 in the front wall." And I'm like, this should be beating the living daylights out of my kidneys now, and it's like,
Not.
no, not even close. And I couldn't. So I just pulled the laptop out, look at this Trinov, and so what they got them roughly on the quarter points, 2 on the floor. They had an upgrade, and then stacked another 2 straight on top, which might have been okay. And it wasn't until recently that, and I couldn't work out why there was no output. Like there was nothing. So there was a big thing. The Trinov hadn't got the calibration right, which does happen. The Automagics don't always get it right.
Yeah, that's a great point. That Automagic, the Auto EQ, any of the room correction software, it is not a universal. It's going to get it better, and it's going to get it right, and it's going to be better every time. Sometimes, I'm not saying that's what happens here, it gets it catastrophically wrong. And if you don't know how to go back and check, you're just like, oh, well, this is how it's supposed to be. And you live with it. So important to go back, just like if you were a teacher, you would check your students' work, or if you were doing work and you would go back and check your own work, you got to check what that thing did, because sometimes it is very, very wrong. Sorry, Tom.
Continue. So I initially thought that's what it must be. It has to be that. Maybe it's the location of the subs. All this at the time was basically in a baffle wall that shouldn't have really been there. So that was having some serious effects as well. And then when I actually got given the job to, right, Tom, fix it. So I pulled the ply off the wall. The thing also that I didn't realize was even in the chain is the D215s were powered from a single box, a mains purifying box, right?
Oh no.
So it got one 13 amp supply going to 4 D215s. Each one of those D215s, if allowed to, will pull close to 12 amps. So those amps, I know, because I've had chats with Eric about this, because something happened with Perlisson when they did their last Trinov ISE room. When they were back at the Italian factory, they couldn't get the output because of this very reason. So
how do breakers in the UK work then? Like, was it not popping breakers?
No. So what so technically I don't know, because I haven't spoken to Eric for ages. So I need to quiz him and understand this a bit more. I mean, it's something I would never do, so I don't suppose I've had to contemplate it really before. But there was basically a 13 amp supply going to 4 subs. The subs themselves, the amps in those Perlisson subs, are properly clever.
Yeah, it could have been doing something.
It's almost impossible to break them. So they limit themselves. When they start to feel like they're current limited, they'll back themselves off. So this room had just about everything going against it. Literally, it wasn't one thing that was broken. It was a summation of about 4 or 5 things.
So when you talked about the baffle wall, you're saying those S7T black editions were in a wall?
Oh, it gets better than that, but yeah, there were.
Let's talk about that for a moment. How was that baffle wall constructed?
The baffle wall was 6x2 stud work.
Okay.
And then 12mm ply on the face of it.
And how much space was around these black editions? Were they just effectively an in-wall speaker at that point, almost?
No, not really. There'd have been 3 or 4 inch gap around it.
Now, was that just like a cavity opening that the speakers were set back into? And then was there insulation, like acoustic foam sitting around them? It was just plywood? Regardless if there was acoustic foam or not, that is not a good thing to do to speakers, right?
No.
And the reason, and Tom, you can elaborate on this a little bit, is sound does not just go in straight lines, right?
Exactly
Sound,
that.
if if this is the speaker, depending on the frequency, the higher the frequency, depending on the diameter of the driver and the waveguide and a bunch of other properties, it's going to go straight. But the lower we go, the more it's going to start going like this, right? And it's going to start coming back and coming out in all these different directions. So when you put reflective surfaces close in proximity to speakers that are not designed to do that, especially ported speakers, which the S7T Black Editions, and I think, where are the normal S7T ports? Do you remember? Are they down?
Underneath.
So they fired out the bottom. Okay. The Black Editions have a perforated opening on the side, and they fire out sideways. If you put things in proximity, you're going to have really weird things that are going to happen. And you're going to have a speaker that effectively tries to fight itself. It's like in the bathroom in a mirror punching itself because it thinks it's the enemy. And then when you ask Auto EQ to do that and fix it, it's just going to put another one in there, and it's going to be punching itself and instead of trying to restrain and fix that. You're asking yourself for trouble. And you see this all over the internet, where people build these cavities because they think baffles are universally beneficial. You need to think about how that speaker was designed to be used. And if you're going to compromise away from that intended use case, how you can mitigate that compromise. And putting plywood around it, no, bad idea. Okay, so how did you fix it? How did you fix that problem?
There's one more thing I need to sort of say, is that when I was doing that very quick listening, and the music didn't sound right. It was really strange, Ryan. Really, like, I knew what was behind. I couldn't see what was going on. It was black fabric and a big white screen.
You just knew the speakers were there, but you didn't know it was there.
Exactly that. So I'm like, what is going on with this? So I get my laptop out, jump onto this. There's an Altitude 32. Jumped onto the UI of the Altitude, and I just started playing pink noise. The center's like, okay, sounds okay, pinkish. I get to the left and the right, and it's suddenly like this. I'm like, what's caused that? So the customer had just been sold a new screen, bigger than his original one, and the aluminium bevel of the screen was going straight in front of the DCP, the speakers. It's like, I've never seen, like, if I was ever to teach and say, right, here's what you don't, the front of this room had everything in that. This is what you don't do and why you don't do it. So, I've never seen anything like it.
And for anybody that doesn't know, aluminum is not acoustically permeable.
I've been calling it his special aluminium waveguide for a long time, but Floyd told us in his book, didn't he, that sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing.
Yes.
And this would have been one of those times. Like, if he'd have just put black fabric and a screen that wasn't in front of the speakers and nothing else there, that whole room would have sounded completely different.
Better, not ideal, but better than it did. You may have never come out because it wouldn't have been as bad.
Exactly that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the LCRs. I'm interested where the LCRs were elevated. They were high. Oh, they were on the ground. Okay, so it was like a ground baffle opening. Normally I see them, they're elevated and they're behind the screen because the screen's up high. So the screen was lower? No?
Yeah, well, the whole front wall had a ply baffle to it. Whole front wall.
Okay.
So the room itself's only just shy of 4 meters wide, which is 10 to about 14 foot, 13, 14 foot, and then 8 foot tall. So the screen was 69 screen that was in there that was 10 foot wide. Okay. So it's a fair proportion of, white on the front wall. I just think he's had upgrade and upgrade, and we sold upgrade and upgrade, and this guy who's been putting them in and spent a proper amount of money with, right? Like, we're not talking
Yeah.
like, house value amount of money. It's just, yeah, not good.
So I
Not good.
think the big takeaway from that is less is more. It feels like they tried to do a lot, and what probably would have been better, saying from that integrator, if they were gonna not put forth the effort to do a proper baffle wall, would be to just have the speakers out in the room in front of the screen, right? With a proper L center channel of the S7T sitting below or above, and then have the towers out in front. You just would have had a better experience. Was that part of the
Yeah, I mean,
reason why the subs were restricted in placement? Was because they went in the baffle opening?
so the baffle opening could have been made to anything. A jigsaw makes a hole in a baffle real quick, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mhm.
That's not a restriction in my. That's just laziness.
Mhm.
I think so. When I got there, the subs were facing forward, as you'd expect, like all these speakers behind me. They're all pointing at people, right? And because it's such a small room, like space is a big premium in these rooms. And when you've got a D215 that's half a meter in depth,
Mhm.
suddenly you're bringing that room smaller and smaller and smaller. So, or a D215 is fairly narrow compared to all its other dimensions. So,
Mhm.
it had loads of room to put them. There was no reason why they couldn't have he couldn't have split them apart. So the system was sold as a waveforming system. Now, for full waveforming to work as well as it should do and can do, placement of those subs, the acoustical center of that sub, is so important as to how
Mhm.
waveforming is going to work predictably, to
Mhm.
predictably work well. Just having 4 subs on the front wall doesn't mean that waveforming is going to work in any way, shape, or form, unless they're in the right spot.
Were there subs in the back?
Yeah, another two D215s in the rear
Wow.
corners on the floor.
Wow. So that leads me to when you talked about sub placement and the direction, that leads me to another misconception, and that is subs especially, well, your speakers need to face the correct direction, and more often than not, they need to angle towards the main listening position depending on the size of the room. But
Yep.
subs, and maybe this is what you did if you would have done if you didn't modify the room. I don't know exactly what you did. A lot of times you can turn them. And in your case, because they're shallower widthwise, you could have turned them sideways to get some of that depth back. Just as
I
a
actually kept the
compromise.
depth. I kept the depth as it was because it was
Mhm.
really good. It brought the screen further forward. I'm height and width limited in this room to get that magic
Yep.
55, 60 degree viewing angle, right? So if I'd have pushed the screen forward and gave myself some space, I'd have had to bring the whole seating forward to keep the angle. So I thought, I'm not going to do that. He's lived with this where the position of that room is, the screen in the room is. He's happy with it. I'm going to make the screen bigger. I am. So
Yeah.
that stays where it is. But what I am going to do, because once these D215s do start singing properly with their full output, if I'd have kept them where they were so far from the screen material, what's that going to do when it's throwing out 5 hertz
Mhm.
at the screen's going to, there's nothing I'm going to do to stop that screen flapping.
Yep.
So I didn't need to do it for packaging so much, but turning the 90 degrees, which is what I did,
Mhm.
allowed me to get my left and the right where they are, because suddenly they weren't a wall of black box where my left and right are. So I turned them for a few reasons. One, I didn't want that woofer basically blowing out on the back of the screen.
Yeah. What kind of
So
screen
I
was
turned
it?
it 90. Screen. It was a Screen Excellence before I replaced it.
And
Fixed frame.
was it perf or woven?
No, woven.
It was woven. Okay. Well, that's benefit. How far were the speakers away from the screen material?
Like an inch or two.
Okay. So that's another
They had to be.
Yeah, this is another one. I'm just going to keep giving misconceptions that people run into and things that they need to think about when they're building these rooms. If that screen was perforated and you had your speakers about an inch away, depending on how deep the waveguide was, you could have been in for a bad time with acoustic attenuation, right? Perf, you need a lot more space than woven in order for the waveform to properly propagate and form before it hits the perforated material to limit. And it's not going to lessen based on measurement as long as the measurement was properly taken, to limit the amount of attenuation and issues that can come about from that material being in front of the speaker. So at least they went with woven. I mean, that was a proper choice. That was
Helpful.
good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my analogy to this scenario with when I come into people who've got existing rooms, almost always one of the things I want to do is get that screen away from the speakers, because 9 times out of 10 I see them far too close.
Yeah.
So my rationalization to these to customers and to enthusiasts on the forums that I'm quite often on is look, let's imagine that the screen that the speaker's pointing at has got 12 holes when it's this close, and that's how much of the screen we're seeing. Right, let's move it back 100 mil, and then suddenly we've got 3,000 holes to throw the audio through. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
it really, really is. We need as many holes. You know, there's a finite amount of holes per square inch, square centimeter.
And you're talking specifically about perforated holes. I mean, woven, it's a little bit different of a ball game because it's not.
Do you know what? I treat it. I treat it exactly the same. It's still gonna like I've got a little test rig out there for doing this. So when I'm testing materials, I can set distances, angles of the speaker, angle of the woven screen, and see how that particular material reacts to all these different scenarios that we're going to need this material in. And it does make a big difference. Woven, perforated. I mean, I won't use perforated anymore. Hopefully, most of the time.
Sometimes it has a use.
Sure, I'm lucky that my rooms are fairly small, so I can't use perforated screens. Ask me how I know precisely, because I started out with a perforated screen. And until Ben Goff sat in my room for the first time about 5 years ago and took the mick out of me, this was it might be longer than that actually, a while ago. It's when I really met Ben, and he laughed at me for having a perforated screen. I knew no better at the time.
How far away were you sitting from it?
Oh, 2-3 meters, 2 meters maybe. Too close.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
like looking through a screen door. Oh, Tom. Tom.
Hey, listen, we've all made these mistakes, right?
But that's why we're doing this stream.
One.
I've made that mistake. It was something that I had to figure out in the current theater of, can I do perforated in order to get something like a gray screen to increase the perceived black floor of the projector.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another one in issues, misconceptions, and problems that people run into is they're not using the screen as a tool in order to enhance their experience. They're looking at it of just the specs and like, what's the best screen? And not looking at the potential compromises that it brings or how that material or screen is going to behave differently in your space. And a great example of that is the perf versus woven. And the other one is make sure your screen is properly sized so that it's going to enhance the experience and not detract from it, like putting a frame in front of a speaker. That's a bad.
It is.
Bad, I can't even imagine.
But you know what, Ryan? I'm not ashamed of any of, and there are textbooks full of mistakes that I've made over the years.
Yeah,
I'm not ashamed of any of them at all.
They're learning moments,
and this
as
is
long
why
as you
I
learn
do,
from
like,
them.
Like what I'm doing behind me, right? So this room's not that old, and this room never sits still. Never.
Yeah.
And there's always something to be learned. There's so many rabbit holes, and Ben pushes me down so many rabbit holes still.
Yeah. Ben's really good at that.
Yeah, he is. You know, I can't. This is what I love about this industry. I will never retire from this industry because I know it all.
Yeah,
that's never going to happen. Never.
I think if you ever hit a point where you know everything, you've lost your passion for what you're doing. Is my feeling for it. So I don't want to. I don't feel like I'm working. I love doing what I do, and I've told my wife, like, I'm never going to retire. one, I'd get obnoxiously fat because my brain needs something to do. But two, I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy the social aspect of it. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy the problem solving. I don't want to lose it. I like what I do. I'm a kid in a big toy store. So I really enjoy it.
I'm the same, and it's the reason why every room that I do will always be different from the last one.
Yeah. And they should be
Always.
different because no room is the same. You always have to use the tools to overcome the limitations of a space.
Yep.
So let's stick with subs here. There's a lot of misinformation, misconception, failures that people make with subs, and this is one that I'm going to bring up that has nothing to do with the room that you were doing, that I see all the time on the forums and and it's less with enthusiasts and more with others that are maybe just want what they perceive as good sound, and that is, my sub already shakes my house. Why do I need more? And my thought of all of that is, well, if your sub is shaking your house all the time, something is already wrong, right? You're more than likely increasing the gain in order to get or try and get tactile. I see that quite commonly where, oh, I need a bump at X frequency to get tactile. And my opinion on that is, if it's properly integrated, you should get it anyway. Doesn't matter. I mean, house curve, you're going to want, I always want a bass boost, but you can see that at the crossover region where things are going up. Or at least
Yep.
from the mains where the crossover hits, my line will start going up like this as it gets lower and lower and lower, to follow the Munson curve. But I see it all the time of, well, this sub's awesome. It's already shaking my house and I can feel my house coming down. I'm like, that's probably not ideal. And you've probably already got an issue. So do you see that ever in the jobs you're doing? You're just going to keep nodding.
I went to a room not so long ago with another Perlis room, actually, and I found some easy BEQ type filters in the Perlis and subs.
Hmm.
I have never felt something so strange in a room in all my life.
Hmm. I don't understand BEQ. I'm not going to say
I
that it's
do.
universally
I
wrong.
do.
You understand it.
I think I think there's a lot of misuse of it because the system isn't capable of doing what they want it to do.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
also I also think that there absolutely are some Blu-rays out there that have got a different audio mix where they've had that 30 hertz cut
Hmm.
and they've got no output and they're
War of the
trying to put it
Worlds is a
back in.
perfect example of this. The original War of the Worlds on Blu-ray had a lot more bass than the remaster 4K version. A lot more.
Yeah.
And frankly, it
Yeah.
sounds better if the system's capable of doing it. So that's a great
Yeah.
example of that.
So for the guys that want that originality back into their audio mix,
Mhm.
fine. You know, it's your kit. But I've never felt it with any title in this room ever.
Do you think it's actually original? My issue with it is, where are they coming up with it?
Great point. So I've had this with some of the guys from BEQ. Like I'm a bit of a pest, really. I'm not arguing with them. You know, and I'm not trying to make an argument of it, but
Mhm.
I want to know. Okay, so you're putting back what's been taken away.
Mhm.
Have you got the DCP file to compare to?
Yes.
No, we haven't, Tom. Right. So how do you know what to put back in? Well, you can just see that this line goes down and it should be going like, and I'm like, should it?
Do we
Like
know?
Tron, the recent Tron is a bit like that. Like, so that is one brand new film that whether they put a cut to it, but there isn't a huge amount of infra in Tron.
Mhm.
But it's not lacking in bass, right?
No, I don't think so. I
And
would
I think
like it
there's
to
some
have more infra, but
yeah, I didn't mind it at all. It was yeah, but there's going to be
we'll come
content
back
out
to
there.
that. pin that right
Yeah,
there
yeah.
because we'll come back to that in a minute.
So I think there's a lot of people that are using these systems because there's more than one out there, isn't there? I think, but you know, basically people putting these filters in to throw a load of infra energy into the room, and it's more likely that their system can't handle it, deal with it. I'm
Yeah.
amazed that there aren't more systems that have let the blue smoke out in a big way. I was looking at one set of filters not so long ago, and it was about 15 dB of you know, added output down at 10 hertz, and I'm like,
Guys,
there's people doing this. I'm like that's, I wouldn't want to do that with that 24 and 10,000 watts at it.
well, to be fair, a lot of subs are going to have filters applied in the amps that are not even going to let them do that.
Are they?
I mean,
If they're new,
okay,
Ryan,
yes,
very
yes.
likely. But if they're 3 years old, that isn't as common as you think. I don't
Well,
think. Like,
I'm using this as an example of like people that are, oh, maybe somebody's using like there are some crowns that don't have this, but a lot of crowns or pro amps have undefeatable filters that are just going to roll off and they're not going to play most of the stuff down below. So I'm using that as an example. But if you're talking about
yeah, okay.
proper plate amps that are in subs, yeah, potentially they may have an issue. My thought on this, and we'll come back to what I pinned earlier here in a little bit. Where do I want to go with this? I'm just going to say I fully agree with you that BEQ can be good, just like I think a calibration can be really good if I'm artificially bumping up something that I'm subjectively chasing. Like that is my taste and that's what I want. But there's too many unknowns for me. And I'm not saying that BEQ is wrong or bad. If it's your cup of tea, have at it. Like, great.
Yep.
I think people need to pursue what they want and not listen to two schmucks on the internet tell them what to do. Like, if there is an
I'm
objective
not.
scientific part of this, but there's also part of this that if you know what you like and you know that you like a 20 dB house curve, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't do that. You do you. You do what you enjoy. It's your space. Don't let anybody else dictate how you enjoy your space. If that's what you know you want to do, fantastic. You know what you want and you know the direction that you need to do. Just make sure that if you're going to do this, and this is a number 3 or 4 of misconceptions or common issues that people run into. They don't have enough subs or enough power going to those subs or capable enough subs to do what they want or what they're asking.
Absolutely. And I think that's the case the majority of the, like, it makes me laugh. So they're adding these and it wasn't one PEQ at a frequency to add this 10. It was 3 or 4 within a very
Summing.
small. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, like, I'm doing this what you can see behind me to my room now because I live in the time domain now, not so much in the frequency response. Like, get the time domain right, and it's going to sound like natural. Natural's the word I've started to use. You start throwing these really tight, very high Q PEQs, which is what BEQ's doing, and it's absolutely screwing your time domain and your subs. If they're putting it out.
Yes.
Absolutely destroying it, and its overall effect. And they obviously they go high, you know, they're up to 20, 30 hertz maybe, depending on the content. But that's doing nothing, in my opinion. That's not doing something right. I have yet to watch a film in a room that either I've, like, if I was to come to your room, Ben's room, this room, maybe one that we built and put together and we've been allowed to do what we want to do, you rarely walk away from these spaces thinking, I just wish there was another couple of subs in there or a little bit of an octave. Like, it needs to be cohesive, right? If I've got 130 hertz 130 dB at 10 hertz, like, you probably got that in spades, right? I want to know that I've got 125, 120 at 80 hertz as well, because I want to feel like the lungs are trying to come out my mouth. But when
Mm-hmm.
John Wick's shotgun goes off, I also want the thump in the chest and the kidneys. And that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen because you've done one frequency really well. That happens because you've got everything right.
Yeah. I don't think I have that much at 10 hertz because that's a lot. But I get what you
Yeah.
mean. And I think almost universally, people do not have enough subs. I see all too commonly, hey, I'm spending all this money on speakers. I'm going to get 1 or 2 subs. And that's it. And my thought is you need to be spending as much, if not more, on your subs than you do on the speakers. The subs are horrifically overlooked in
Yep.
implementations. And
Yep.
it takes exponentially more power in order to get these lower frequencies, especially into infrasonics. So when people, I don't necessarily think BEQ is bad when it's properly done. If it's using a really low Q filter, um, where it's really wide and it's not really mucking with the time domain, it can be beneficial if we're just bringing up the infrasonics, though. Was that supposed to be there? Who knows? And then I'm going to bring up my pin that I had earlier. Infrasonic, guys, I think is misunderstood for what people are after in home theater. If you take a SPL meter that can tell you different frequencies, I don't know what they're called. If we look at a spectrograph as an example and we go outside, there's a lot more low end energy than one may think that exists in the natural world that our ears aren't hearing, but it's just everywhere. And that low end energy, when it's missing from a theatrical release or a theatrical experience, kind of sounds unnatural once you're used to that. Like once you're into a room that can do it, you're like, something's missing. I call it dry versus wet bass. That was when I talked about this several years ago. That's what I came up with. Dry being everything is fast and then it's gone, fast and then it's gone. I'm getting that really dry experience. Not bad, but I want the wet cohesiveness. Like I just ate dinner and now I'm eating dessert that goes in and fills all the voids and cracks and emptiness. And now it's all cohesive when we together. The infrasonic to me is not necessarily there to rip the soul out of your body. It's there to bring everything together into one cohesive experience where
Yep.
your mind is like, this feels much more realistic. A gunshot is not just, hey, this is 60, 70, 80 hertz. There's a lot more down low that make you feel a certain way. And if the subs can't do that and you're reinforcing on top of that to try and chase more and more and more, you're just getting the bad sounds of it. As drivers bottom out, they're going to start making bad noises or letting the blue smoke out, which is not what you want. And I think that is the next misconception or issue that people run into is they have this feeling that X dB is really loud. And they think that, 90 dB, 100 dB is super loud. Well, if you came into a room that has speakers that can play up to, without distorting, 120, 130, 140 dB, your definition of what is loud very quickly changes. And you realize that, my ears don't hurt when I'm listening to this. And if you pull out the SPL meter, and this is why I have to put especially when I'm listening to music, if I'm rocking out, I either have to have an SPL meter in my hand, which is my SPL meter isn't good enough to have the low end energy, but frankly, I'm not really worried about the low end energy hurting my ears as much as the high frequency stuff. I have to have one up to make sure I'm not destroying my hearing unbeknownst to me. Because when you remove the distortion, your ear's ability to hear and deal with higher SPL goes up exponentially, like drastically.
It's one of the fun things I do with customers who come to this demo room.
I think we both do this.
So yeah, it's like, I always hear I don't like it loud. And I say, well, look, this room goes loud and you're going to be in charge of the remote control. When you get to 100% volume output, you are at theatrical reference, the gold standard, right, Ryan? Which, let's not go into that today, but
Yeah.
oh yeah, we definitely don't like it loud, so we don't need to anyway. And I'll give them the remote control, and we'll start watching some stuff, and they'll be, oh yeah, we'll turn it up, and I guarantee we're in that top 5% of the volume percentage within 3 minutes of them watching clips.
Yep.
Every time.
Mine is, I get partners that'll come in and say, my partner's room is too loud. I say, okay, well, let's increase. You tell me when it's too loud. I'm just going to slowly start rolling it up. You tell me when it's too loud. It never happens. Never happens. And
because it's
clean. And the people have a tendency to misconstrue. We harp on this all the time. Misconstrue distortion for loudness. And when you take the distortion away, your ears are like, oh, this is nice. Because you don't complain necessarily. Some people do because they have really sensitive hearing. You don't complain about loudness at a concert. It's clean. It's pro speakers. They're doing what they're designed to do. But when you get home, and small rooms have more of an issue with this because of reflections and the time domain, all of a sudden it becomes a problem. And that may be, more commonly than not, because you're asking a 2, 3, 4-inch driver to play well beyond its capabilities. So just, you need more than you think.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a little room, really, especially to the US standards, right? So I'm 6 meters by 4 and a bit meters wide, 2.4 tall. You know, and I've got 40, which is, I know it's nothing to what you guys have, but I've got 40,000 watts of LFE in here. And there's only one reason for that. I don't want any distortion at my intended max volume. That's why. There's no other reason. It allows me to put enough drivers in, which I think people are starting to understand that
I think they are too.
One sub won't do it. It could do it for one seat, possibly.
I don't think one sub, unless it's huge, is ever going to deliver the ideal experience that you're after. I mean, there's too much to gain at the lower numbers of subs. I mean, just adding one more sub, if you're adding the same amount of power.
I don't disagree with you. Theoretically, one sub for one seat is achievable.
Okay.
Theoretically. But like, if you put 2 seats in, you are going to need multiple subs. And by multiple, I don't mean 2. I mean lots of subs.
Yeah,
and more the merrier.
I don't know that I would agree, given the normal size nature of our rooms. I think there's too many modal issues for one sub to ever really be ideal.
Yeah, and it's always the case, right? So these are people's houses, so we can't put it wherever we want it. It's going to be limited by something. They don't want it in the middle of the room. They don't want it, you know, there's a door there. It's theoretically possible.
Can you imagine being an integrator and being like, well, the ideal place for the sub is 6 feet out from the wall and 3 feet from you. I'm sorry, this is where it's going. You just have to deal with it.
And it's a 28 inch.
Yeah. It's going to block half your screen, but this is where it needs to go. So
it's where it has to go. Yeah.
All right. So somebody asked a question.
It's theoretically possible.
Hi-Fi Fick. Well, he's making a statement here. The correlation between bad bass on newer releases and this talk about infra doesn't make much sense. And then he says, the community needs to speak up and demand LFE bass like the Blu-ray era. Would be interesting to hear more about the mix choices these days from guys in charge of the home theater mixes. Do you agree?
I would love, I tell you what, I would love a DCP Atmos mix available to us home guys.
I've tried to get Jason at Kaleidoscape to do that, but I think there's too many hurdles that they have to get by. bureaucracy wise, not the capability wise, the bureaucracy of it to be able to get that for home releases.
I'm
But
desperate to find somebody with DCB, proper DCB content, not just trailers, that I can go and hopefully and with a Trinov measure the output of the LFE channel, the left send, all the channels in a system, and then compare that to all the different places where we can get that same content from,
well,
and
let's
just
talk.
A/B it.
Let's take the speakers out and let's focus still on subs. Do
Yeah.
you think there's necessarily a benefit? Because I don't know that there is. I think it
Well, I
actually
don't
may
know.
be a negative,
I don't know many commercial cinemas that will go below 20 hertz.
if that. I think it's higher than that. So
Probably.
the idea that, and this isn't necessarily what he's talking about. Hi-Fi is talking about. He never brought up commercial. It was all home cinema.
Sure, but we're all wanting to get back to that original. And where does the original actually stem from?
Yes.
Because it's not from the home mix.
My thought of that is we don't know what the intention of the director, audio engineer, cinematographer, what were they intending? And were they limited by the theatrical? There's too many, like even just in the theatrical mixes, visually and audibly, no room is, well, some of them maybe, but a lot of the rooms, different theaters, totally different sizes.
Ryan, I've got someone at the door. I'm really sorry,
Okay.
buddy.
I'll just keep rambling about this. Totally different sizes, right? The experiences are totally different because you've got 4D, 3D, IMAX, Dolby Vision, whatever upteen other versions of whatever else. Which one is the intended version? And then you go to home mixes, and then you have all these other different ones that release at different times. Which one's right? The unfortunate part about where we sit now as consumers is we really don't know which one is right. So to me, the idea of chasing, oh, this is how it's intended, I have no idea. No idea. So I'm not necessarily worried about what is intended. I'm worried about experiencing something that I find immersive at the end of the day. I just want what I find immersive. And that's really it. I try not to get caught up on, oh, well, this could use more of this or more of this. I just want to be taken into the content and enjoying what is being demonstrated instead of worrying about, oh, this could have been better. And Jonathan and I have had arguments about, noticing the bass or not noticing the bass, so on and so forth. And for me, a truly immersive experience is I don't notice anything in particular. I'll let Tom get his stuff back on so he can hear me. So, Tom, I was talking about how we don't know what the correct theatrical or home release is because there's too many versions, right? You got 4D, 3D, Dolby Vision, IMAX, all this stuff. Which one is right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
at the end of the day, all I want is to be immersed, and I want what makes sense to me. That's it. And when I get home, Jonathan and I have had arguments about this in our streams. I'm just reiterating this for Tom. Jonathan wants to notice, and this isn't wrong. This is what he wants. This is his ideal. He wants to go, man, a lot of bass. Love it. To me, I never want my feeling of immersion to be suspended. I want to be fully pulled into the content, and that is my actual reality is suspended, and I am now in that film. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be pulled out of it. I want everything to make sense, not necessarily make sense to reality
feel
to
realistic.
Be suspended. Yes, that's what I'm after.
That's so. I think that's, for me, that's the key thing in these systems we're putting together. Is that it needs to be realistic. Now, if you like a shed load of bass, then all power to you. If you can afford the subs, go for it.
I wouldn't even use the word realistic because a lot of the content we watch isn't necessarily realistic. I want it to be immersive.
You want
I think that's the better word.
Yeah, realism, right? In that sci-fi or whatever it might be. That if you would, all right, in Ready Player's race scene, if you
Yeah.
were actually there, what would it probably feel like? Well, when that gorilla's jumping across those
Sure. Okay.
buildings,
I get what you mean.
you know, that's quite a violent scene for most people with good systems, right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably. I mean, I'm in the zone. Not so much anymore because I've watched it so many bloody
Oh
times. I can't
gosh.
stand it now. But
Now I'm paying attention when I
but
watch that. My favorite sound is the coins. It's not the big noises. It's like
yes,
coins. Sounds amazing. And I'm
yeah,
focusing at
yeah,
the
yeah,
little
yeah, yeah,
things when I'm watching that for a demo.
yeah. Yeah, but you know that. So I think realism, drawn into it, all the above.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's really really important, right?
Do you feel that there has been a step back from Blu-ray releases to 4K UHD? I don't know that I necessarily agree with that.
So I don't watch discs.
Are
I
you
am
K-scape?
far too lazy. Yeah, I am
Yeah.
far
Well,
too lazy.
but take a HD versus a 4K a UHD. Do you think even on K-scape, do you think there's been a step back?
I never walk away, especially from this room, thinking,
Wanting?
"Oh, I wish the director had added more bass." Very rare indeed.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there is
Really
one.
rare.
If there's something that was strange or weird. No?
Yeah, nothing's springing to mind. I don't either spend a lot of time comparing the HD
I don't either.
version to the 4K. I've got much more better rabbit holes to fall down.
S
Like you say, if I've got this room right, it doesn't matter
Mhm.
what I watch. It's going to sound like I don't upmix in here. Everything's native,
Yeah,
always.
I do the
I'm
same
just a
thing.
bit, probably a bit weird like that to a lot of
Mm.
people.
Not to me.
Yeah, because I want that, and I'm beginning to hate the phrase, the artistic intent that the director was intending us to experience. Right?
Uh,
I don't know what that ever is now, and that's why I don't like it. But I know that if I've got my time domain right, if I've got loads of extension to where I want it down to the single numbers in
mhm.
frequency, in bass, so all my subs, and this room's going to have 13 drivers in here that I've got to get working well together.
Yeah.
If I get that right, I'll know that when I start listening to music and
My
watching
thing
some
with
films.
not using up mixers is we talked about this with the Auto Magic stuff, the Auto EQ stuff, is I don't wanna worry if it's getting it right or wrong.
Yeah,
Like, what if it
me
gets it
too.
wrong? I
Exactly.
don't so I just leave it. Like, I just say, "Alright." But even then, you're kinda trusting what the audio engineer did, like, did they get everything right? So, to me, it's
So there's
not
a film.
necessarily of being native, it's more of, I just don't wanna risk something being strange and doing something weird.
Yeah. So I watched Atomic Blonde, for the first time, not fairly recently, and
Okay?
that's in 5 point. I think it's in 5.1. It's not even in 7 point. I think it's in 5.1 natively,
Mhm.
and I did not realize until about halfway through the film.
Yeah. A proper
I
5-1 and
I
even 7-1 mix is really good.
I was I forget how what I did something. I was doing something. I heard something. I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna." Unfortunately, I had to get my laptop out. I was starting to look, and then I realised it was only in five. I'm sure it's 5.1, and I'm like, bloody hell, this is really good at 5 point, like
Well,
really, really good.
that's Christopher Nolan in a nutshell. I don't think he did Atomic Blonde, but it's Christopher Nolan. All
Sure.
the his Batman movies, Fury,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
all of that stuff is
Yeah.
not Atmos. And if you work
And
within the limits of your tools, you can do a great job. And this is a great example of you can do a lot with a little, and the diminishing returns go up exponentially as you add more and more and more.
I think, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got 11.1.6 in here, and when
Same.
they're all singing, I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoy Atmos. But my point was that at 5.1, if I was up mixing it, I who knows what I'd have heard.
Mhm.
I really like hearing what I was supposed to in
The
channel count and what have you, keeping it real.
the key with that, I think, is you don't know what it's supposed to be like. So what you're hearing, that is what you hear. Your brain's not going, "Oh, I should be hearing something from the tops." You have no idea. So what you're hearing, if it's well done, typically is more than enough. Now, you get a really good Atmos mix, and it's incomparable, right?
Yep.
You do something like
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049 or one of the best other that was just the one that was on the forefront of my mind. Another really good Atmos mix, and it's you put them side by side, and you're like, "No, this is trash. Like, get this out of here." Not saying Christopher Nolan is bad, but when things are blending, oh boy, like there's no comparison. Um,
It's
so I
wonderful.
fully get that. There
Yep.
is so Big Street Cinema asks, Tom, is it the other way around? Sometimes you feel it's ever too much bass.
Um, I don't know how to answer that. Is there ever too much bass? So I've definitely calibrated rooms for people, and I like bass. I wouldn't say I'm
Bass shy.
a bass freak, but I like a lot of it. What I thought was a lot of it, but I will do calibrate people's rooms or build people's rooms, and they like more than me. Is that wrong? I
No.
don't think it is. I've also built rooms for people who don't like as much bass, so we put less subs in, and that's what they like. Is that wrong? I don't think it is.
Maybe he's talking about with content. Like, do you ever feel like a piece of content has too much bass? I'm gonna
You're putting one
rephrase
in
that.
this.
Do you ever feel like there is a piece of content that feels unnatural because of a bass note that maybe they've added? I've got some
I mean,
weird ones.
Nolan does like to throw a little bit of LFE at the system,
He
doesn't he?
does.
Like
Yeah.
Oppenheimer and the explosion is. I the first time I watched that, I
Yeah.
quickly got my laptop out and looked at what my limiters were doing for the LFE. I was like, how
I
is he getting that out of this system?
I feel like that is just distortion in a lot of ways, what he's thrown at with the explosion. I don't know that it's wrong. I mean, it's what he intended. Um,
Yeah.
One that I don't particularly like because I feel like it's unnatural is Mission Impossible. I think is it Ghost Protocol, like one of the last ones, the second to last one when they're on the sub and it's rolling. Like there's a lot of unnecessary low frequency here and it doesn't make sense. Like it's not adding anything for me personally. I mean, maybe to some it's
I
adding a level of suspense, but
Me and
it's
my
not
youngest
my thing.
daughter have just done all of the Mission Impossibles over the last 2 or 3 weekends.
Okay.
So we
I
watched
did
that
them not much longer
one
before that.
Saturday. We watched that, and we watched it at home because I've ripped this. We normally come here to watch it,
Mhm.
but we watched them at home. Just a 55-inch TV, a soundbar, a 10-inch sub. I didn't get. There wasn't too much bass then.
Mhm. It was definitely too much. I don't know that it was too much. It wasn't
I get what you're
it
saying.
broke my immersion of the scene.
Yeah, you're probably right there. But is that wrong?
No.
I can't say that it is.
No. I don't think it's wrong. It wasn't my thing,
No.
but I don't think it was
Sure.
wrong. Trying to think if there was
Yeah.
anything. The Day After Tomorrow or Live Die Repeat, the intro that they used to have that was blowing up people's subs that they removed, that was probably too much. That was that did not need to be there. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know.
Imagine a BEQ filter on top of it.
Oh gosh. Listen, guys, if BEQ is your thing, I'm not here to tell you to stop. I'm simply saying
Yeah.
what is right. And if you're chasing right, maybe somebody that does the BEQ filters can come on and explain to us what the reason is and how they know, but it's never been for me. And actually the more and I'm betting you're gonna agree with this, the more dialed in my bases become, the less I feel I need.
Yep. Yep.
You're able to accomplish far more
Absolutely.
with less.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like less, but you lessen the house curve.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. For
I
sure.
completely agree with that.
All
Yep.
right. Loki's got a question, and it'll probably spur another one of my don't do this. I have stacked 4 SVS sealed base 2000 pros. So he's got SB 2000s. They are stacked and run from 2 sub outputs in my AVR via Y splitter. Do I lose signal going to the subs by using the splitter? It seems like I do. You do.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit. I wouldn't worry about it. Just increase the gains would be my opinion. And somebody's probably going to come on and be like, you're wrong. Voltage actually does this. But in that case, as long as you're not clipping either on the preamp or the subs, I think you're good, right? Just attenuate as needed.
Yep.
Um,
I agree.
Stacked subs, I think, are an underutilized when used properly, unlike your previous room that we were talking about at the beginning. When used properly, can be a benefit. I mean, when you increase the power and the woofer, you double it, 6 dB gain and a coaxial.
Yep.
So by doing that, now remember, if I go from 1 to 2, it's 6. I need to go from 2 to 4 to double again. And then I need to go from 4 to 8 to double again. So it gets harder and harder and harder and harder to do that.
It gets more and more and more expensive. It's easy to do that. It's just bloody expensive.
That's fair. That is fair. It becomes more and more difficult to move. I mean, I can't imagine you looking at those 215s and going, man, all right, time to move those and being excited about it. I mean, I was at the Perlison Chernov CDA room. That was a nightmare doing that, having to move those.
Yeah, I was doing that as well. I was under those
awful.
subs. I think me, Eric, I can't remember. I think there's a couple of, but Eric and I, plus 2 others, every single one of those.
That was
so
awful.
I did. So the room that we just did, Tom and I, who another chap who was helping me, we lifted one up to its right height. Well, both of them between us, because we were waiting for help to turn up. It didn't turn up, and we were just like, "Oh, let's be men about this and lift 93 kilos." They are heavy.
2.2 pounds per kilo. That was 200 pounds. Tom Zahas putting that above his head. Dang.
I can't walk properly, but
got a hernia trying to make that happen.
So
go ahead.
SPLs, I've always said SPL's really easy. High SPL's dead easy.
Okay.
It's just expensive. That's fair.
It can be.
Yeah.
And to get it properly integrated, because you could throw a sub in that's just detrimental.
Yeah.
If you don't have enough of them. I mean, you could just put a sub in a bad place and be like, oh, I'm adding more. Look at that. And it's going the opposite direction. So you got to measure, got to make sure that what you're doing is a positive. I see that a lot where, oh, I've got multiple subs and one sub's just doing nothing. It's actually detracting from the overall experience. Bad time.
And sealed is I see a lot in the enthusiast when I'm calibrating.
Yeah. It can be done.
So they've just put it in.
Can be done.
Yeah.
But it's hard. And it's almost always still a compromise because you have to use filters and all kinds of other things to make it work. And it'd be better off just doing sealed.
Yep. For sure.
Doing sealed. Or putting a crossover in and doing something like, I'll call them kick subs and infrasonics so that they're not still a problem when you're having to deal with the crossover, but you get what I mean. You're limiting the compromise. Any other major misconceptions or problems that people run into that you'd like to address?
Near field subs. That has just popped up into my mind now.
Okay. What do you want to address?
That they are going to give you the tactile feedback that you want.
They give you tactile feedback.
Let
me preface this because I know we're going to stir some stuff up. I'm on the same page as you, Tom. If you like near fields, I do not think that you should go rip them out. I think they are a great tool to augment low frequency. right? Just like
So
tactile transducers.
I had this 24-inch sub underneath one of my sofas, my rear sofa, literally firing up at my bum. And I could make a tennis ball jump about 2.5 inches. And it was a lot of fun to sit here watching that happen and watching content. Lucy was a good one for it in the final scene. But you couldn't watch a film doing that.
I should try that with the 64 and sit on it.
You'd be jumping.
Just sit on the cone and see what happens in my head. It's like a cartoon and my head's sticking into the ceiling.
The tennis ball wasn't on the cone. The tennis ball was on the sofa.
Okay.
But many rooms that I've done now, very rarely do we have a near field sub on purpose. I don't think it's for me and my design process. I don't necessarily think it's probably doing everything that they want it to do. Tactile feel, yeah, maybe. But what's it doing to everything else in that frequency range that you're hearing? You're suddenly feeling this movement of air effectively, right? But what you're feeling and what you're hearing probably aren't going to be the same thing, which for me is not an experience that I want to live in.
Yeah, there are. So when done properly, you can mitigate a lot of the issues that you run. Now, I don't know. I've never measured the time domain on near fields because I typically don't utilize them, but I did. But when I did it, I didn't know what I know now, and I wasn't measuring the time domain, so I don't know what it was doing in that area. Frequency response, though, as long as you weren't being obnoxious with the near fields, it wasn't impacting noticeably the frequency domain, right? They were turned down enough. My issue with them that I really will only note because of the base experience I've been able to experience in the Mad VR Experience Center is it doesn't feel natural. It is a tool and a great tool to augment tactile feel in an exponential amount of it at a low cost and in a way that you're not having to pressurize the entire space, right? So it's a cost advantage. It is a great tool to have if needed, but I think universally the experience you can gain from having something like a lot more subs, I don't think I am ever wanting to have a near field in the experience center. I think my problem, the localization is my main issue with it. I can tell it's behind me. And as a tool, as a compromise, I think if you overcome what you're getting at with them, they can be a great tool if that's what you're wanting to do. And you know the cost that you're paying, i.e. localization, locatability. But for me, if you're chasing the end all be all, I would try to do it with standard throw, like not near field, far field, I guess we could call it.
So I think I'd always question why they thought they needed them in the first place, because they're probably an addition, probably. And most likely in an enthusiast world, right? It's going to be they want some more tactile feel. Oh, let's put some subs close to us. I very much live in the time domain now. You know, over the last 12 months, I've realized just quite how important that is, and the experiential difference to something having a really flat response and really flat and perfectly timed versus perfectly flat EQ, which is easy to do, but the time domain being all over the shop, the difference for me is unbelievable.
Staggering. The room that I'm thinking of, Jonathan's room, he doesn't use a lot of EQ, so his time domain is more than likely, I've never measured it, is probably really good. Like he doesn't have really any filters. I think one of the only filters he has is a pretty low Q. So I don't think his time domain is a mess. I think what he wants, and he's experienced a lot of things. It delivers what he's after. And this goes back to what I said towards the beginning of the stream is, if you know what you want and you know what the experience is that you're trying to chase and obtain, if near field allows you to do that, do not think that just because Tom and I don't like them, that means that they're universally wrong. If they deliver what you're after, all the power to you. Like, do it. Don't think that, oh, I can't have them because these schmucks on the internet said that they're a bad idea. If they deliver and you're trying to have that, like being shot out of a cannon when John Wick, the shotgun scene in the third John Wick happens, if you want that feel and you want to have that fun experience of being smacked in the back when the shotgun goes off, dude, do it. Like, don't, absolutely. That is the easiest way to obtain that feeling. We're just going from, it's not for us, right? And we're,
Sure.
that's it. So I know with enthusiasts that I'm just trying to head that off. It's not for us.
Yeah,
doesn't mean that.
I have, so something that Ben and I talked about a long time ago, and I know that you and him have talked about it as well, is that having that wave coming from the front of the room to the back of the room. So when you see John Wick's shotgun go off on your screen and that wave comes through you.
Yes.
This is the reason why I'm doing what's behind me now. I want that experience. I'm desperate for that experience in here.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's right for everybody. I get that. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, somebody will probably debate and be like, oh, this way is the technical right way. There may be. I just want people to get the experience that they want in their own room. It is their room. Get the experience you want, and it's your space. Don't let anybody else tell you. If you enjoy it and it's well done, dude, have fun. That's why we do these rooms, to have enjoyment.
Sure. But I'll say this, that those people also need to listen to you and Ben and probably get a load more performance.
Don't discredit yourself.
But, listen, I know this is me, as we talked about right at the beginning, I definitely listen to people that maybe I shouldn't have at the beginning of my career, right?
We all did.
Who it's really hard to understand where to go. Really, really hard. And I think that's a really tough thing for enthusiasts and customers who are looking for guys to build them cinemas, is like, well, where'd you go? And who do you listen to? We can't just say, right, just listen to Ben and Ryan and me. Don't listen to anybody else because they're all wrong. We're not obviously not trying to say that by any means, but it's really hard to know where to go for really, really good advice, isn't it? It's really, really hard. And,
I think, go ahead, Tom.
Put 10 cinema designers into a room to design your room for you, and you're very likely going to get 11 different ways to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Probably more than that, actually.
Probably.
Yeah. What I encourage people to do is fact check, but learn enough to be able to do the measurements and look at what's going on in your own space. REW, once you understand what it's showing you, it's not hard to look at and figure out, oh, I've got an issue here. Then it becomes more of an issue of like, how do I fix that? But I encourage people, be able to check and verify yourself, right? Don't just take what schmucks on the internet are telling you to do. Use the information and use it as like a jumping off point of like, oh, I should go investigate that and figure that out. And even if you're having somebody over to do something, don't be afraid to question. And my thing is if you get somebody that is afraid to say, well, I don't know, that may not be the right person for you, right? There's too much information for one person to know. And I look at it as we are all surrounded by resources that are there to help us. One person cannot know everything. And I lean on these guys as much as I've grown myself to make sure that I can get the very best experience for my customers at the end of the day. I am not afraid to ask Peter or Ben or Maurizio or the guys at Christie or Jeffrey or any of those guys to figure, or Eric or anyone, hey, what is the best situation to use this? Or I've got this kind of funky thing going on. What is that speaker going to do in this situation? And I realize that sometimes you got to know something to understand that information coming back. But in a lot of cases, we're just like we are enthusiasts. I mean, that's why I love this group is we're not just doing this professionally. We're our own crack dealers. We're all taking our own lines of our own products and doing it ourselves. And we're all walking that walk. We're all making these same mistakes. The only reason like Tom and I are on here is because we've made these mistakes already. Like I've spent the money and spent the time to make these mistakes, and hopefully so that you don't have to. That's why we're doing this. And frankly, because we enjoy it. And I like running face first into walls to try and figure out what the hell's going on in these things, because I enjoy the discovery part of this now as much as I do the experiential part of it, the experiential part of it. So don't be afraid to ask questions and look at the data, right? Read Tool's book and look
do you know
at
what? I speak a lot of so a lot of people know, Adam Pales, right? Is a really good friend of ours. He's probably known as one of the world's most prolific and, in my opinion, one of the best calibrators out there, right? I don't really see Adam as a calibrator. He is the best investigator to have in a room, I think, that there is, because he'll see a problem. When you have that problem, whatever that problem is, in whatever measurement you're looking at, you then have to work out what's causing that problem. Because I can bet you a pound to a pinch of that speaker probably hasn't come out of that manufacturer's facility broken. The room's broke it. So what element of the room
rare
has broke that
cases
speaker?
where the speaker is broken, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but likelihood is that the room, an environmental factor, is breaking that speaker, and that's what makes a really good calibrator.
But even Adam will go, yeah, I don't know. He'll say, I don't know, to answer questions, because he doesn't know.
Don't know everything.
It won't make something up, but he'll go investigate and figure it out. And that's my opinion. The air of a person that knows a lot is the ability for them to say, yeah, I don't know. Let me go find that out for you, or ask somebody that I think might know. And that's the people that I've been lucky enough to surround myself with. And that's what I would encourage people to look for if they're trying to lean on for something to help. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know, and then try and go find the answer for yourself. REW is an excellent tool, and they keep adding new things.
Hey, and don't forget that REW help page is actually written really, really well. Really super well.
I can't believe that's a free tool still.
I
mean, I guess it's kind of not anymore, because you can donate to unlock some features. Like I paid the extra amount to get RTA and stuff out of it, which I do like, but I can't believe that tool for the majority of it is free still. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. There is a question. Somebody asked, how many layers of material do I have in my walls? So for anybody that wasn't around when I was building the Mad VR Experience Center, everything that I did, I said, well, why don't we try and take this to the extreme of what is possible in this space, right? So we tore the room down to the studs. We moved some walls. We did a bunch of stuff. That room is 5 sides of concrete. The only side that's not concrete is the ceiling, which I can't do anything about. I couldn't really change too much of the size, even though we could move a couple of the walls. Couldn't make the ceiling taller. There was some limits. But one of the things was, I'm going to try and put as much mass in this space as I possibly can. There is 8,000 pounds of plywood in that room, which we had to carry one sheet at a time down a flight of stairs because it's in the basement. It's 3/4 inch sheets of OSB. Each sheet weighs 100 pounds. We used 80 sheets with virtually no waste. And it's laminated. And that means that they're double stacked. So I've got a timber wall, then risset clips. I'm probably pushing these risset clips to their absolute limit, but it's risset clips. then it's 7/8 inch hat channel, then it's 1 sheet of OSB, then instead of 1 tube of green glue per 4x8 sandwich, they said, well, you can get a couple percentage points of benefit if you use 2 tubes of green glue. So I use 2 tubes of green glue. And then it's another sheet of 3/4 inch OSB. Then after that, it is extruded aluminum framing and then the Officina Acustica interior walls. So it's, and then the timber framing is insulated with R13. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 layers of material that sound has to travel through. So does
What's
great for
your
high frequency.
CB?
I've never measured it. I don't have a mic that can measure it. So I've never bothered. My decay time is really low. It's like 115 milliseconds. So I've come to really like it. The noise floor in that room is really, really low when the projector's not on. One of the limitations in that room is the projector's in the room with me. I couldn't put it anywhere else because it was a limitation of this house being built before I was doing this professionally. So we built kind of a pseudo hush box around it, but you can still hear it. But it's low enough that the black swans are very easily noticeable for their noise floor. Like I turn them on and they're like, oh, black swans are on. You can just hear them. So it's really low. It contains high frequency really, really well. Low frequency, as you know, Tom, there is no containing. So it's just, you can spend as much as you want. You're not. It's not happening.
You can contain it, but get your wallet out.
You can if if I have enough material, sure. But
yeah.
The wavelengths
your room
are
in
too
a
long
room
and
on
it's not
springs
happening.
and all sorts of, you're in a whole world of expense.
Yeah. You might as well.
And is it worth it?
No.
Maybe.
I doubt it. Yeah.
I don't
think
so.
8,000 pounds of plywood's the big part of it. And I got no regrets. If I did it again, I'd do it. If I had to do it again, I would do it. The more mass you can put in there, I don't see any down to
I
it.
see. It's funny. It's the metric of a room that I think's mostly underappreciated by a lot of people. Like I too have gone to a lot of effort. This room is as quiet with the system on as it is off. I've basically got nothing in the room anyway. And in fact, I haven't measured it since I've now moved to Trinov amp 16s, which are noticeably quieter.
Yeah.
So I have no hiss at all anywhere in the room.
Well, we can hear the swans, and we don't know if it's the amp 16s. I need to test this actually, or if it's being brought in by the switchers, because I can switch between the Storm and the Trinov stack.
Yes.
So we don't know where it is, but I think part of it is because I'm so on axis with the Swan that I'm just hearing direct when they're on. When the content's on, you don't notice it, but when it's off, it's just there. I need to check that actually. The amp 16s are a phenomenal amp.
In this room's very first guys, I mean, it's been through some changes and equipment changes over the last couple of years, but yeah, it sounded like a snake's wedding in here. It was awful.
You guys and your analogies in the UK are fantastic. I'm always jealous.
Most of mine have got swearing in it, so I'm trying to keep them. I'm trying to keep it down for this channel.
Yeah, you got to keep it PG or more PG as much as you can for this channel. What was I going to say? And I think that is another misconception or thing that's overlooked is people do not spend enough time addressing the room. It's all the sexy stuff of buying the equipment. This is cool. This will get me further. This will fix my problem. Guys, just fix the room.
Yep.
It's not fun.
I don't care what speakers. Well, the room that I talked about earlier had got some of the best equipment available to us all, and it was a horrible room. Terrible. The room is the most important component to a system by far.
The room will dominate the experience. Dominate the experience. And you can drastically change the experience to be more towards your liking simply by addressing the acoustic properties of the space.
Yep. You get rid of those big reflections, have it quiet so that when there is that very quiet moment, it is very quiet.
It's proper quiet.
I think that's as powerful in some content and as it is as the big loud stuff.
A quiet place is a perfect
really is.
example of that.
Yeah.
Perfect example of that. The amount of suspense that is brought in from a quiet place simply by being quiet. When you compare a super quiet room, my room is not quiet enough because of the projector to do this properly. Like it's not. When you do that in a really quiet room, it is an amazingly transformative experience. I so wish I could get the projector out of my space. I can't. It's not possible. But when you experience that, like I have in some other rooms, oh man, it's amazing. But that doesn't happen unless you address the room. The room's overlooked.
Yep.
I've got this issue where I can't hear my center. I need a better center. Majority of cases, no, you don't. You need to fix the room.
Yep.
And sometimes it's easy enough just moving your seating. Just address the seating location. You got any of them that you want to bring up? We've been going for an hour and a half. Or you want to draw the line there?
You keep whatever. Hey, listen, I'm easy. You keep firing things at me, and I'll keep talking about it. But I've pretty much covered everything I thought we'd talk about.
Yeah, I have too. Hour and a half is pretty good. So I think we'll just leave it there. And I think we'll have Tom back on because he didn't crap himself while he was on the stream. So you can't fault him on that. So I think Tom will be a good guest.
I know what you're talking about. I'm just talking to my mate on the other side of the screen.
It is nice to do this and do it live when you're not having to do a VOD or anything. It's just a conversation. You have fun with it. It's more enjoyable to me to do these live instead
I have had to bite my lip on the swear words occasionally.
Yeah.
I do swear a bit too much in real life. That's the
I've learned to do that. I was really bad when I was doing the flight simming stuff, when I was doing professional Twitch streaming. Man, some of the things that would come out of my mouth were like, where did my brain go to make that even possible? That string of words come out together. But it is more enjoyable doing it this way. Maybe it would be fun to do one where we all get together and it's like after dark where we just take the filters off and we just let it go and we can really have at each other. We should actually do that. I do need to do that, like a once a month thing. That would be fun. But I think we'll wrap it up there. Tom, I really appreciate you coming on with us, and stay after because I'm going to turn the stream off. So don't think that you need to end right when I do, because I know this is your first time on here. But thanks for joining us, especially on such quick notice because Ben's out of town. It was very nice of you to give us some time. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Mate, pleasure. Yeah, it's been good fun. I love this. Great. Just speaking to my mate. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know we'll do it again. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us on this impromptu. Well, it wasn't an impromptu stream, but I didn't have it scheduled because we didn't have a topic until 5 minutes before the stream went live. But thanks for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any suggestions for topics in the future, please drop them in the comments, not in the chat. Drop them in the video comments so that we can see them. Any of those suggestions are greatly appreciated because I only have so many ideas. And I've been doing this long enough that, frankly, I'm running out of ideas. So if you have anything that you want us to address, do not hesitate to drop them in the comments of this VOD. And more than likely, they will get used as a future video topic. So we will be back next Monday. Next Monday is actually going to be Peter and I. I don't remember what the topic is, but Peter will be joining us because Ben will still be in Asia. He's alienating all of us. Going back out there, I think, for some calibration stuff or some finishing up some stuff in that big room that they were doing. But anyway, hopefully you guys, the Americans, enjoy your holiday that you've got going on. The rest of the world, enjoy your typical Monday. And we will see you guys in the next video. Stay safe. Enjoy your home theater journeys. Have a good one. See you later.